o'clock. Do we have a motion to open our meeting?
Moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we are open. Good evening. This is a meeting of the Finance Committee. It is Wednesday, March 11th, 2026. This meeting is being audio and video recorded. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, so on the agenda tonight, we have three of our departments here that are going to give presentations. We're going to go in this order: golf, town clerk, and then fire and EMS. We're going to do that as a courtesy to Mr. Tibbles, our golf superintendent, since he has to early hours and you're going to be out at the crack of dawn. So,
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you.
the floor is yours.
Okay, I'm assuming everyone received a copy of the budget.
We have in the packet, the packet that we have, yep.
Just a couple of things in general. You'll notice at the end, I'm going to just turn to the end first. You'll notice that all said and done, there's a net zero increase in the budget for FY27 versus FY26. And you'll also notice as you go through and look at particular categories, you'll see the FY26 budget, the FY27, the actual increase and the percent increase. One thing I'll point out is that we weren't quite sure of would be insurance, medical insurance or health insurance. Of course, that doesn't get set till, I believe it's in June. And we put basically a 2% increase on our indirect costs on the second page of the budget. And for the most part, I believe those will probably be accurate, but until we get information from town hall otherwise, then there's a possibility that those could change. And of course, we aimed for a net zero budget, so if those change, then we would make adjustments in other areas within the budget to maintain that net zero increase. We were capable this year of, while the total budget has a net zero increase, we were capable of increasing some key areas in the budget due to the fact that our long-term debt interest and principal had been reduced significantly. It freed up some room in the budget to make some adjustments and make some changes. So with that brief introduction, if anybody has any questions or anything they'd like to go over in particular, I'd be more than happy to look at those things.
All right, so I'll start with the 10% increases in the salaries.
On the salary range, you'll see 10% increases for supervisory staff. Those increases basically twofold. One, trying to bring our supervisory staff up into what is normal for those particular positions, or what is an average range, since we had a little additional money. I'm not going to use other individuals, but I will point out for myself, I've been here since January 1 of 2001. I've been a town employee since the 1st of January 2006. During that time, from FY 2007 through FY 2026, my total pay rate increase was $29,892. Over that time period, that represents a 1.77% average raise. During that same time period, the average COLA was 2.48. So you're operating at a deficit almost for the entire employment period. And I look at the fact that we're an enterprise fund, we generate money of our own. We do not take money from tax dollars, and we generate our budget based on what we feel we can bring through the door. And if we feel we get to a certain point in the budget year where we're not forecasting to be being ahead or making a profit, then obviously we go back into our budget and start reducing expenses, so we come in with either a flat line or zero or a smaller profit than we would originally have anticipated, given the weather and given the length of the season. So I look at those and I feel that we've produced a product. We produced a product that's been very successful. That can be pointed out in what I believe they call it a contingency fund, rose to prior to us making a small depletion of it for the clubhouse. And I think those are valid pay rate increases for the individuals who are listed there, and their participation and performance to make the ends, to make those profits possible.
And if I could chime in with just one additional thing on that. As the committee looking at it, excuse me, these 4 positions highlighted in yellow, they're also in the USW union contract, so we're fully aware of that. In the end, they're going to receive whatever's negotiated for them next year. It says that this was kind of an attempt to highlight industry averages versus where we are, knowing full well that this may not happen. It's going to be the result of whatever the union negotiations end up with. So there may or may not be the expectation that that's where we end up at the end of the day. We know it's going to be through the negotiations. It's not as if we are on our own trying to unilaterally, push this through. We do understand the process. Again, I was trying to highlight current union wages versus the industry averages for these 4 positions, and not necessarily is it going to or not going to happen. And ultimately, whatever is settled will be what it's settled at. And then if there's plus or minus from there, we would just move it down to equipment or somewhere else to still keep the net zero that Steve was talking about.
Is the COLA built in to the 10% increase already? Like if there
Well,
was.
the contract is up this June 30th, so there's nothing going forward into next fiscal year yet, anyway.
Okay.
So the contract ends June 30th this year?
That's my understanding. Yes.
As far as I know.
Yes.
Whether, I'm not going to, personally, I'm not going to comment on the union and where that's going and where that's going to be. I will wait until that particular time to see if in fact we're constrained by what Mr. Flynn just discussed. So I would assume, if you're asking me that question, I personally would say yes in answer to your question. That would include cost of living increase and within that same number.
Okay.
And I will point out, at least for the superintendent and the assistant superintendent, those are, given the level of experience and the period through which those work, those are the bottom ends of the pay rate ranges as far as averages are concerned. Most assistant superintendent positions are currently right now, whether it's through the New England Association, the Rhode Island Association, being advertised at between $70,000 and $85,000. Most superintendent's positions, depending on where you might be, some of the positions in Maine and New Hampshire are somewhat less, but the average for those particular positions for certified superintendents is usually around 120 to 175 to almost 200,000, depending on the nature of the facility that's advertising.
In the assistant superintendent, the salary that's highlighted there is actually the salary that the board voted an entire year ago to try and move that one position up to, which did not happen a year ago. So here we are a year later, still at the same target. So you could almost subtract off your cost of living over the past year. From that, we're still trying to get to that same minimum target for him.
And it's always been an issue in town with salaries. We're always kind of on the low end for police, fire, everybody. I'm just real quick. Is the contract, is that negotiated between the golf committee or who negotiates?
The Board of Selectmen.
That'll be
Yeah, the Board of Selectmen will have a representative, and I believe there'll obviously be legal counsel from the town as well as town administrator.
Question, sorry.
Yes.
When you were detailing out the ranges for the superintendent,
Yes.
what would what's it comparable to us? Because I know there was a wide range, 120 up to 175. So if you were to take our golf course and equate it to somebody else,
If
what
I
would
was,
that be?
if I was to take this golf course and equate it to the
Something
municipal,
comparable.
let me give you an example, whether it would be Braintree Municipal or
Okay.
Franklin Park
Yep.
or George Wright. Of course, they're in Boston, you know, Franklin Park and George Wright. Braintree's outside of Boston. And you take the captains down in the Cape and kind of work those around. For municipal superintendents, you're probably talking in the range of 105 to 130,000. That would probably be your hiring range. Now, some people with greater experience and qualifications are going to call for more.
Yep.
And some clubs will advertise in a certain range, and of course, you always have the, you know, dependent on experience and negotiable. So a lot of times what happens, if people identify the person they want, then they're willing to pay what's necessary to get that person in.
How about comparing it to similar courses around here in our area?
Well, I mean, I'd have to pull up, the Rhode Island Association hasn't completed its, we do a budget survey every other year. And I believe the New England Association is in the same boat. I mean, if you're looking comparable courses around here, you're looking at Swansea Country Club probably. Where else? I don't.
Reservation,
Huh?
what would reservation be, like in?
I don't necessarily consider nothing against reservation, but I don't count them comparable because they're not a complete 18-hole course. They have and they also have a different setup, and a lot of these other places have different setups than we do as far as as food and beverage and banquet facilities and what have you. But I would say, I think, I can't quote what their pay rates are. I do know that in the last Rhode Island survey of superintendents, I was probably, when I started here, I was in this position, and now I'm, because of the changes, it's fallen somewhat lower. I don't know what his salary range is. I do believe he gets paid more than his salary is greater than mine is. But it's not so much, I compare on the basis of averages just to give people an idea of what the range is. I personally would rather be evaluated on our performance and what we've produced in the time that we've been there and what we're capable of producing in the future. You have quite a bit of potential there. Whether or not it's realized or not, that depends on how quickly and how thoroughly you move through this clubhouse work. But also, I'm 66, I'll be around for a couple more years, but you're going to have to look to replace myself and my assistant, my mechanic, is our employees go from 55 and up and 18 and below. There's nothing in the middle. And so also part of that is trying to get an idea in place and a approach in place so you have the ability to produce, to replace or put people in those positions. And again, we're an enterprise fund, we make the money, we don't take it from the taxpayer dollars. I don't like to be compared to other departments because it's like comparing apples and oranges. Even if we weren't, you can't really compare the DPW and the police and the fire department because each department does separate things. And they all have separate responsibilities and they all have separate qualifications. So, maybe I wouldn't be a good politician, but I'd have to look at each one individually and judge them based on the merits of what they do and how well they've done it if I was going to determine a pay rate increase.
You had mentioned, I'm sorry, do you want to go? Go ahead.
Regarding the union contract, because I think that's where, the issue is, correct, with the pay raise, because that's going to determine what these positions are paid. So, I haven't seen that union contract, but is there different categories of employees, or how is the union contract organized? Is it just department heads get this range regardless of what
No
department
range.
there's
there's no range.
Individual department, individual salaries for individual department
Okay,
heads.
so it would spell out in the union contract, direct superintendent of the golf course, and that's what that is. So
Well,
it's not-
it separates out the positions,
Mhm.
but the raise structure, at least in the initial contract, was broad-based. And it was basically, there's this percent, and this percent, and that's what you're going to get at the beginning, in the first go-round, and there it is.
There was one base at the start. and a
For
percentage.
everyone or
No,
for each position?
what
Okay.
each position had, and then it went up a similar percentage
Mhm.
per year.
And that contract, when do you anticipate negotiating that contract, getting that done? Because it seems like that's going to inform this here too, the budget as well.
By a vote of the Board of Selectmen, I am to inform, I've already informed the Golf Management Advisory Committee that the Board of Selectmen will negotiate the contract. The Board of Selectmen's authority are negotiating the contract to set the wages. All of these are, anything above and beyond level funding is beyond where the Board of Selectmen wants it to be at this moment.
Beyond level funding the salaries or beyond level funding the budgets?
Beyond level funding the salaries. So the salaries that should be carried forward in the FY27 budget are the FY26 salaries. And if the contract is settled, as most articles for funding a new contract are, then the raises would be in that article, based
So-
on the negotiated contract.
So do you think, I know you said it's through the Board of Selectmen, but do you anticipate that will be done sometime in the next few weeks or months for a town meeting? Or is that, or just,
That's,
we don't know where we are in that process?
that's for the Board of Selectmen and the next town administrator to determine.
So that, to that question,
Negotiations have not begun.
speaking on that.
They haven't
so
begun in
Is
there.
the incoming town administrator, is he up to speed on any of this stuff?
We've had discussions.
The other thing is, if there's gonna be the contract negotiation, they get settled, right? Shouldn't there be something built in advance?
It would be in the article that funds the settled
And
contract.
I think that's what this budget is trying
Well,
to accomplish, correct? By the-
That, and, I have,
10%.
But you can't put it in the budget if you're going to put it in the article that funds the settled contract.
But I would say in the past, we've never included enterprise funds in a settled contract article at town meeting. And again, whether it's in salaries or you just want to put it in supplies or capital for right now, keeping the bottom line the same, and then whether it's 1 month or 6 months from now that the salaries are settled, we can then do an internal budget transfer at that point in time, instead of waiting for a town meeting to appropriate funds into our enterprise fund budget.
And I must remind everyone that the warrant is written by the Board of Selectmen.
And what I'm saying is that we have the flexibility, if it's built into the bottom line of the budget, at any point through the finance committee, to request a transfer. So if money had to come from line A or B into salaries, at which point in time the contracts are settled, you could always do it at that point in time.
From the warrant that's submitted by the Board of Selectmen to town meeting.
Correct.
I have a simple question, being that, my wife laughs at me when I call myself just a grass cutter. But unless my math is bad, zero increase is zero increase.
Right.
So why in the world does it make a difference whether you have a zero increase in a salary spot? Because the bottom line is the bottom line. That's what you're permitted to spend. And if you spend under that, then everybody likes you. You can't spend over it in municipal situation because you can't go over budget. You're not supposed to. At least that was my knowledge. So I don't understand what the significant difference is between having increases across certain categories, but then in the end, you have a zero net increase. Zero is still zero, no matter where you're, how you're adding it up.
So Jamie, help me understand, if there's excess in an enterprise fund, what happens to it? Because I guess that's sitting here, right? Like, that would be the question.
Well,
If there's excess, what
Right, it
happens?
falls back to retained earnings of the fund. So see, we could put zero for every single salary, but I would still, as the chair, would want to see a level fund to zero on the bottom. Right, so we're talking about 47,000 in total salary increases.
Right.
So I would put 47,000 in capital or supplies right now to keep the bottom line the same. And then whenever the contracts are settled and negotiated, come to you to authorize a budget transfer from
Wherever it was put.
supplies back to salaries, exact to the dollar amount that the
Yeah, and
contract
I hear everything that you're saying, I totally follow that. I guess I go back to, like,
to answer your question,
yeah,
it goes into the reserve, the retained earnings of the reserve.
And if there were an article at town meeting sometime down the road to fund contracts, the funding source in that article would be our reserves. You're not gonna fund
Yeah.
raises out of a taxation like you
Well,
would
it
for police and
depends,
fire.
if you remember, and it's only, I've been told this, I don't know, that once the golf course is making sufficient money, then there was infrastructure purchases that the town could do. You could even dissolve
yeah.
the enterprise account, which I have done in other communities.
I guess I guess that's the point. Income closes to retained earnings.
Exactly.
That's how your balance sheet balances.
Right.
That's accounting 101, right?
Right.
So,
And if we ever needed a supplemental appropriation at the fall town meeting, it's coming from ourselves, it would come from our own reserves. Right, so whether it's just there from day one in expense
so what's
line,
retained earnings right now?
the dollar amount?
Yeah.
Well, it was approximately 2.4, I want to say, but then there was a
It's
town
about
meeting.
2.5, and then town meeting took 1.25 out for the clubhouse.
Correct.
Yeah.
So it's
you
about
have
$1.25
that
million
number?
right now.
So it's still $1.25 million that can sit in there that could be accessed at.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Well, the other thing, too, you're looking at, hopefully, if the weather cooperates, you're looking at adding approximately another $250 to $275, maybe $300,000 to that at the end of fiscal 2026. So, I mean, I don't know the laws of enterprise funds.
I do.
A former town administrator several years ago told me that the enterprise fund could not continue to churn money, that it had to take its money and spend it on itself for the improvement of the enterprise fund. You can't just sit there and bank money. That's what I always thought. Maybe it was wrong, I don't know. I don't know whether individual towns set up enterprise funds or the state sets up the regulations for an enterprise fund and you have to follow theirs. It's probably something worth looking into, may answer some of the questions that people have about them. I don't know, I mean.
For the purposes of tonight and what we're requesting is
Yeah.
for our budget for next year, whether there's like a holding account for potential salaries, wherever they end up, whatever line it's in, it's our intent that the bottom line is level from this year, and then we would just balance it, plus or minus from wherever the starting base is, once everything is settled, whatever that may be, union-wise. Right, so again, if we put zero in for salaries today, we'd have $47,000 more in supplies or capital down the bottom to still keep it level funded.
Yeah.
And then we would, like I said, everything's settled 4 months from now, we put in for a transfer to put it right back to the penny on infant salaries.
I totally understand that. I guess the question is, as finance, Jamie, if we look at, and so that's the one thing that's missing off of here that I think is really vital is what the last year's expenses were for each of these line items. Because that would be really helpful just to gauge a sense of what typically is required. And I understand that with weather and things like that, that there are things that fluctuate, but at least it's kind of a starting point.
We spent all but less than $100,000 of the budget last year.
Yeah.
This is a round of figures.
Yeah, and I totally get, but if anybody knows here, like,
Well,
I am all about line items. I am an accountant, so like, the whole concept of everything, like,
The reason I didn't include that is because the information that Jamie sent out to us, the second Jamie over,
Yeah.
had all that information in it. So I assumed that everybody got that, because it had FY,
Yeah.
in that big spreadsheet, it had
Yeah,
the
it's in
expenses.
It's in the spreadsheet that I had sent out to you guys.
I mean, I can,
It's-
I
it's
can
in the
shrink my
email?
columns and go back
You-
and put it back in.
So I can pull that up right now.
Mr. Tibbles is correct in that you have to look at the enterprise, each enterprise fund is sitting independent
Yeah.
while it's spending money and making money. What, at some point, if you are to the point of not needing to spend money on capital items, you're all caught up in the capital cost plus the operating cost equal what you're making. At that point, you can dissolve the enterprise fund and it's folded into the operating fund of the general fund of the town. If you're not making money and you have to supplement from the general fund, then DOR dissolves the enterprise fund.
But we're not doing that.
No, you're at the other side.
Yeah.
So at some point, the town would have to look at if they do all of the improvements that they want to do, and the budget plus capital expenses of the golf course equal the income, or are less than the income, then you can dissolve the enterprise fund and it becomes part of the operating budget capital fund.
Just as a comment on that, I don't know how long most of you folks intend to be on the finance committee, but if that day ever comes, I strongly recommend that you don't dissolve the enterprise fund, because there are always costs associated with equipment and what have you that are going to draw on that money. And the last thing you want to do is go to the taxpayers and tell them that they have to foot the bill for a piece of equipment.
I totally agree with that
Yeah.
point right there.
So
Yeah,
I would
We're all in
much
agreement
rather.
there. I'm trying to pull
You
up the
can have a
chart.
retained, you can have a retained,
Kick it in,
you
huh?
can have a retained earnings income in a department that is similar to their reserve, that you can build up.
Right now, we're talking about something that's about 5-7 years away at
Yeah.
best, so I'm not sure why we're spending too
Yeah,
much time
I don't want
discussing
to. I don't
that.
want to make everybody else wait behind me. So
Can I just say something? Mike?
Go ahead.
I'm a pretty avid golfer, and this course, you've basically ran it as a super for 25 years, right? This is an enterprise fund, yes, that makes money for the town, and I think the reason it is so successful is because it's a very, very good course for a public course. It's known all around the state as being one of the greatest public courses in condition-wise, and I think that's, you can't lay that anywhere else but at the superintendent's, that's his responsibility. Unless he's been really lucky for 25 years. I think he's the reason why the course is doing so well, frankly. Dana's done an awesome job running it. I know, just speaking of like comparable salaries, there's a course right around the corner that's advertising right now up to $130,000 for superintendent for next year. So I do think that his salary is low. I think it's low at 116, frankly, for what he does for this town. And I don't know Steve, but I'm just speaking to the course. And yeah, I just think the reason why the course is so successful is because of the conditions, and I give credit to Steve for that.
Thank you for saying that, Phil, and I'd just like to add in that I've said publicly before, and it's no knock against our own property, we don't have repeat customers because of amenities, because we don't have amenities. We have repeat customers because of the quality of the course, and that's why 30 to 40,000 people keep coming back every year.
I mean, every other course, like we talk about reservation comparing to these courses, reservations, lost like all their greens a couple of years ago, like, knock on wood, you know, this course is,
I never like to speak badly at all about other courses because it's a jinx, so you don't want to do that. But I would have to mention though that I've got 16 or 17 people that work with me, the majority of which have been with me for 17 or 18, some 19 years. And they do an exceptional job, which allows me to branch out and do a lot of things that in some circumstances you might not be able to do conditioning wise, because I have that dependable group of people. And, you know, like I said, we go from 55 and up and 18 and below. And next Tuesday I have to go in front of the Board of Selectmen because I have to replace 6 of my 18 and belows because they're graduating from high school and moving on to bigger and better things. But like I said, I don't want to make the other folks who have to be up here wait. And I don't know, like David said, I mean, if it's necessary to do, just take that number out and stick it somewhere else and maybe revisit it later, that's fine. But I don't, you know, I could sit up here and talk about it forever. So unless anybody has any other questions on that, maybe we can look at the other parts as well.
Oh, that was gonna be my question on just a few of the other parts.
I think, you know, this should garner more discussion amongst our FinCom relative to this.
And excuse me, if you want, I mean, I can always come back at another time.
And we may have you come back in, well, you know, once we discuss this more.
Yeah.
But my thoughts on this are, it's a great golf course. I've played there over the years, and like Phil said, a lot of it is kudos to you. And if we're gonna invest in this course with the clubhouse like we're doing, I mean, we're going forward with this project to enhance it, make more people go back, bring more people in. I think investing in some of the key people that are here, making it successful, should be thought about. It should be given some thought, and that's my opinion.
Well, like I say,
We can look into legalities of all that, but look, I mean, that course is successful because of him, Dana. I've seen it firsthand. I played 2 tournaments actually last year, and they ran a top-notch tournament, and with limited supplies. I mean, you're working under a tent at the end. I mean, but they make it work. I mean, it's amazing that. But the people go back because of the golf course, not because they're getting a good hot dog or beer. They're going back because the greens are great and the golf course is in good condition.
well, like I said, you folks, as a town, and you know, you've got quite a bit of potential there. Whether you want to realize it or not, that depends on the direction you choose to go and how you choose to get there. And you're at a pivotal point now because you paid off the majority of your initial investment. And now you're branching out to the last cog in the wheel, so to speak, or at least the biggest last cog in the wheel. And once you get that secured, then you have, you know, then you open up a whole new can of worms about how you're going to manage it, how you're going to run it, how you're going to present it to the public, and so on. So, like I said, there's quite a bit of potential there. And I've said this in the past, and I don't know if it's legal to do, but obviously it's a town asset. And we do generate income. So if there is a particular town need that can't be funded by something else, and we have a little bit of extra income, it wouldn't be a bad idea to discuss the opportunities to provide that extra income to the department that might need it. Because it's there. We're all the same town.
Right.
Yeah, we're all part of the same
if it
community,
can be legally done, I have
so
Jamie,
one
I'll give you
hand
an
can
answer
help
for
the other. It's not a,
Yeah, I think that listen, my
discussion
kid,
for
I'm
another
getting text
time.
messages from my husband and my son, they're not gonna be allowed to play at Acushnet anymore, you know, because I'm over here, but, listen, they all love playing
That's why I
there.
put
They all
it
love
away and
playing
turn it
there,
off.
it's a great town, like, I get it, but I wouldn't be sitting here I would get lambasted by some other departments if I didn't question
Of course,
salary
no,
increases, right?
I'm
Like,
not saying,
that's
I'm
what
not
we're
saying
supposed to
not
be doing
question.
here.
What I'm saying is that,
Yeah.
you know, often there's friction between departments, and I think that's unnecessary because it's, you know, it's created because you can't do this or you can't do that. I mean, I could have had friction with the fire department because they stopped me from burning. But if he says I can't burn, then I can't
Yeah.
burn. So, that's the
But
question.
yeah, but that's why
You
it's
know?
important.
To be fair, it's the state that runs that, not me. I just-
But that's why it's important to talk about what comparables are and things like that, right?
Yeah.
So that's hence the question, right? Like, when you've got a 10% increase in, yes, you know, not to talk about any other departments, but
Well, I
that
think-
obviously is gonna raise a red flag, right?
I
Like,
can
that is a
go,
question
I
that
can
you
go
ask.
back
The
to,
whole thing
But-
is it's a placeholder though, right? Because it's gonna be contractual anyway, right?
Right, that's my point, is that
Yeah,
ultimately the union negotiations are going to settle what that comes in
And
at.
that-
So it's just there as a placeholder for us within a bottom line $0
That's fine.
increase.
So let's say it comes in at 5% increase, and that's what's built into the budget.
And that
you
variance,
put it in
we would then
expenses.
put in to transfer it down to equipment.
whatever the
something like that.
5% was, and let's put it in the other category.
Exactly.
Selectmen will choose.
Okay. Well, like I said,
Somebody
Steve,
else?
if we have any other questions, we have to have you come back in, I'll reach out to you
Sure,
directly.
is when it comes to personal services, is that what it's called? Salaries? Yeah.
You know, Dana's out of state tonight, but absolutely, Steve, Dana, myself, if you need any of us back, just let us know.
Thank you very much. Thank you for coming in.
thank you.
You said
My
another
only one question, real quick, was in your expenses, how did you approach the figures that you came to? Was it, did you look at the actuals that are, like, what?
I look at the actuals from the year before, at least, you know, I can speak for how I go about doing it. Our primary three categories, obviously, one's payroll. For me, the other one, I have three other major categories. You have fungicides, growth regulators, then you have fertility budget, and then you have equipment repair. And the way I look at those is I forecast my pesticide program and my fertility program based on what I encountered in the previous year, based on what long-range weather forecasts look like, and based on what worked and didn't work.
Right, so when you
And
said
then I
that,
come
that's
up with
why.
I
said
come
that
up with a
'cause-
program.
Yes, so it's looking like it's a, higher than, higher
Well,
than
one of the
3%
other
increase,
things
so
is
that's
kind of,
based on
is
your
kind of interesting.
expertise.
Don't like to bring up, non-town things, but this whole mess over in Iran has really put a big weight on the fertility industry. The price of urea has gone up from $475 to $600. And the problem with LNG, which is a primary component in creating urea is a primary component in nitrogen fertility products. I've already received emails from from my suppliers that are telling me if this thing goes on too much longer, the budgets that you put together probably not going to work. So, but that's how I come at those numbers. And then I look at some other items that I know there's particular things that I haven't purchased in the past that I'm going to want to purchase. That's why our supply budget has gone up somewhat. Something as simple as replacing T markers. And we have 4 sets of T markers. So that's 6 T markers on each T or on each hole, and you multiply 6 by 18 holes, make it by 20 just to make it easy. So that's 106 times, yeah. So you're looking at over 200, close to 200 T markers, but you have to get some extra ones. And the bloody things cost $35 to $40 a piece, just one. So it's really planning that way. So okay, if I need to do that, if I need to replace flag sticks, so I'll go item by item to see. And then of course, I'll admit it, in a couple categories, I add a little fluff because I don't know if what I'm saying is going to actually come true or
No,
not.
that's understandable, but, and again, I guess to your original point, the bottom line percent is 0, so how to allocate it within the budget is.
Well, when we
More,
presented a budget to the golf committee at a meeting earlier in March, prior to that, I worked through 2 or 3 versions of a budget to try to come close to that 0%. The budget that I initially put together had a 1.76% increase overall, which really, I mean, y'all live in the same basic vicinity that I do. You know how much everything's cost. You know how much it costs at the fuel pump. You know, we need to replace a rough mower, which we're probably not going to be able to do this year, so I'm going to have to spend more money on it. But to replace that machine costs $85,000, and that's with the municipal discount. If it wasn't municipal discount, you're paying over 90. That's just one machine. So, but yet we're, you know, because of the financing of the debt and the interest, we were able to move around some of those monies and come with 0.
Thank you, Steve. You do a great job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you.
And I expect to see at least all of you out exercising or possibly swinging a club in a couple of days.
That would be a definite no swinging clubs. No swinging.
If I swing a club, someone's gonna run.
When your clubhouse gets built, you'll see. I'm
Well,
not eating.
Depends how the liquor license goes.
I had a comment about that, because I asked them there, you know, so when are we gonna break ground? And they said next year. And I probably shouldn't say this at a finance meeting, but you know the cost of everything is going to be higher next year.
Oh,
So that $3.5 million ain't gonna go as far next year as it is this year. But they always call that thing, you know, I won't say what they call it, what superintendents call the clubhouse. It's that big sucking sound at the other end of the property, and it takes all the money. But that's for another discussion.
Okay, next presentation will be our town clerk, Pam Levanti. Welcome, Pam.
Hello. I can't believe we're here again. So soon. Okay, so I gave you each a folder. This budget is a little bit different than previous. And I guess I'll make my public announcement this evening that I have taken out papers for town clerk for this term. They haven't been certified yet. No one else has taken them out, but this will be my last term. My husband really, really wants to retire. I'm not ready to give it up, so.
Is it a 3-year term? How long?
It's a 3-year, yeah. So, and the reason that I bring that up is, over the last 18 years, I've worked so hard with the staff in that office to really make some positive changes. Getting things automated, making the office accessible for the residents. And it's gonna be real important to me that someone carry that on. I know going back several years ago, I had a former selectman that came to my office and he said, I just want to let you know, if you don't plan on running, I figure this would be a good retirement gig. And I'm going to throw my papers in the ring. And I said, no, I intend to run. You're more than welcome to run against me. But I can tell you right now, it's not a retirement gig. So specifically with all of the changes that have taken place with the early voting, the vote by mail, the in-person voting, there's been a lot of regulatory changes. So it's really important that you have some continuity in the staff. So when I came before you last year, I had put in for myself a 2% increase and found out after watching your meeting that the Board of Selectmen had said that they felt elected officials should negotiate any of their increases prior to an already in a process term. So what I've decided is I am not going to ask the board for an increase for the next 3 years. Okay, so you already have my commitment to that. One of the reasons that I'm doing that is I feel it's real important that I grow one of the individuals in my office to either step into my role if he so chooses, or to be there to support whoever becomes the town clerk when I leave. That way, again, there's continuity. Because being a town clerk is not what everybody thinks it is. If you've got the experience, yeah, that's one thing. But the municipal world is very, very different. So what I have done is I've had conversations with my senior clerk, and he is willing to step into the role as assistant clerk. So what you'll notice on the budget is that I intend to appoint him as an assistant town clerk. And I'll be working with Jamie regarding any of the legalities because he's right now part of the union. But
What?
he's part of the union. He doesn't pay the union dues,
Right.
but yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
He's in the clerical
Clerical.
union.
correct,
That is not a clerical position.
right.
And it is the town clerk's prerogative to appoint.
Thank you for adding that in. So,
Been there, done that.
yeah, I do appreciate that. I've already started the paperwork in order to get this done. But where we were asked to do level funding, which is always difficult, especially when I'm in an election year. I go from not having an election to now having an election. But on the town clerk side, I am able to, with the changes that I intend to make, I can do away with a temporary salaries line item. Now, when I say do away with, in a way to compensate him for taking on more responsibility and assuming this role, specifically in my absence, he should be compensated for it. So what I've done is I've taken a number of line items and that I was able to either zero out like the $2,000 because that won't be needed any longer. That was a temporary account that had been set up for a former part-time employee, and she was allowed to work 30 hours, and anything over the 30 hours had to come out of that temporary account. So it was a better way of monitoring how much over she was doing. So without having that need, I'd like to apply that $2,000 to the assistant town clerk salary. I also, by doing this, am able to reduce the overtime by $500. I did have $1,000 in the line item, and where this would now be a salary position, I won't be needing that full amount. I will still need it for my other senior clerk, but I won't need it for the assistant clerk. And I wouldn't need the full 1,000. So that's brought me up to 2,500. Then longevity, that was $688. That was also for a former employee that has since retired. Her position is in the process of being replaced for the senior clerk. However, whoever comes in will not be eligible for longevity because they'll be starting on the ground floor. So we've already gone through the internal application process, and no one internally wanted it. So I think they're all afraid to come work with me. So that was another $688. The R&M office equipment, I do need to keep that. This year we had an issue with our time clock where now we moved into 2026 and our time clock only went up to 2025. So that was a $350 office visit. So that is important for me to maintain. Vital statistics, the binding of our vital records, that is level funded. Office supplies, that is level funded. Software expenses remains at 0. I think I've mentioned on many occasions that some of the programs that we have, the vendor is no longer supporting them, so I'm not going to send a support check to them. So I have been working with our own IT department, and Tony Duart has been a blessing. He's helping to restore some of those programs for me. So that'll be at a much cheaper cost somewhere down the road.
Yep.
Postage I'm reducing to 1,000 from 1,200, so that's another $200 that I would be applying towards his salary. Dog licenses, so I don't know how many of you have gotten your licenses this year, but I am not hand delivering them this year. They came in October, and I worked out a deal again with the vendor. He saved us another $1,000. So, and he's promised me a similar price for next year as well.
How many licenses roughly?
About, if you include in our kennels, about 2,600.
26.
Yeah. Yeah.
I contribute 2 of those.
And if I could just put the plug out there that dog licensing deadline is March 31st, so you don't want to incur the $20 late fee. Okay, so travel and meals, I did reduce that down 300. We did put the senior clerk, soon to be the assistant, in the NEMC, which is the New England Municipal Clerks Association, we've sent in an application. Literally, they sent out the notice on Sunday. We applied at 9 a.m. on Monday, and it was already too late. So he is on the wait list. So we're hoping a lot of people drop off so he can go. In the meantime, though, he'll still be attending the trainings and the seminars. As a matter of fact, we have in April, it's Clerk's Day on the Hill, where we all get to go and speak with all of the representatives, the senators, and discuss. This one is going to be specifically about the vote by mail process and some of the results that we have found in the tracking that we've done for statistics. So, dues and subscriptions, that is the same. Bonding is the same, which that blows me away. It's been $100 since I started 18 years ago, and it stayed the same. And additional equipment, I don't foresee that I need anything right now, so I'm just leaving that at $1. Okay, and if you noticed in red, I put a little note there that by restructuring the senior clerk position into the assistant clerk, the town clerk's budget still comes under level funded by $29.80.
Pam, my
Yeah.
question to you on that,
Yes,
by creating the assistant town clerk position,
yeah,
so there's a little bit of an assumption built into that individual is gonna basically take on your role,
it's,
pending, because they have to run for election. Or
exactly.
So, let's, for all intents and purposes, say they do, and they
Yeah.
become the town clerk.
Yeah.
Would the salaries clerical now, where it sits at 37, would it stay like that, or would it be a person would be added back at some point?
Well, the senior clerk, that is my other full-time staff member. So it would be myself, the assistant town clerk, and a senior clerk, instead of 2 senior clerks.
So really, you're just at all those savings that you talked about is the
Yep.
differential between the proposed salary for the assistant town clerk and the salary that the clerical staff to that position was at. Does that
Yes,
sound
so
about right?
I do have here that the salary that he's at right now is $39,913.60.
So you're just making up the difference between the 44 and the 39.
Right.
Jamie, go ahead.
You can't look at it as the salary for an assistant clerk. You have to look at it as the salary for a person in her office who's performing assistant clerk.
Right.
Because when she leaves, the clerk has the discretion to appoint an assistant clerk, which I think is very advisable,
Mhm.
or not. And their duty is, their power is to appoint the assistant clerk. What the assistant clerk will then be paid is dependent on the budget.
Correct, but for all intents and for our purposes here, that's how you're coming up with that, to fund that increased salary, right? Whether or not all the,
But
the
it's,
behind the scenes personnel stuff.
For example, I've been involved in other towns that the clerk gets paid a lot less than the assistant clerk, because the clerk determines their own duties and their own hours. So you've got to look at it, if you're going to look at it as a budget item, it's really a package. You're getting a clerk and an assistant clerk for X amount of dollars together.
Sure, right, but I guess to come in at $29 under level funded,
Oh.
that's how, when you went through that exercise of saying, I reduce this, I reduce that, that's how,
Right.
for our understanding, how we're maintaining the level funded or just under level funded with the addition of a salary, increase.
Right.
That's for this
Right,
year.
correct,
Yeah,
yes, exactly.
Right.
That's how
When
it's
you go
also-
3 years
Right.
hence, it's an
Right.
entirely new ballgame.
So getting back to what you had asked, there have been a number of assistant town clerk positions that have recently opened up throughout the state. And I did take a look at them. And of course, they range, one of them was Ashby, another one was Bolton. So they do range in sizes, populations. But I can tell you, and I really don't want to say this, but that's still a salary on the low side, okay, on the very low side. It would be giving him approximately $2.29 of an increase. But he will carry a lot of responsibility. As an example, I had gone to down south. My mom had a knee operation, and I also had a week's vacation. I brought my laptop. We had it all set up. We thought it was going to work perfect. I was not able to issue any death certificates while I was gone. That is a major problem. And that is not something that should ever happen. But you can only assign that type of a duty to someone that is either a town clerk or an assistant town clerk. So it really is important. My mom and dad are aging right now. Their health isn't very good. So I could be called to go down and take care of them. I do as much as I can from my computer and at home, but that was a freak accident. There was something that happened with the firewall, and I wasn't able to access the computer at all. So needless to say, it was very frustrating, but our IT department fixed it. But that's just an example of why it's so important.
So going forward,
Mr. Chairman, just to jump in, since I've arrived in Acushnet,
Yes,
that has been my
it has been.
litany
Yeah.
to the town clerk, that you need a sworn assistant town clerk.
that was my next
Every
question.
community needs it. And you're hearing this from someone who was a town clerk.
So going forward, will we always have an assistant town clerk?
You should.
Yeah.
It's very
is
dangerous
important.
not to.
So,
Yes.
and then,
In
so
case the town
there's,
clerk gets hit by the proverbial bus, right? Like,
Or
Exactly.
just is out of town for a week
Yeah.
because of a blizzard.
so my other question is,
Yeah.
so how does that affect the duties of the remaining clerical staff?
It does not affect them at all, because essentially, he's been working, since he was hired, he's been doing some of those duties with me.
Okay.
It's very important for me to help him grow. And anybody that's in that position, it just so happens that he's there. And I think if he likes it, I think he's somebody that's gonna stay for a long time. He's a resident of Acushnet, he's a hard worker. Everybody seems to love him.
So there won't be a need to add a person back to that clerical staff?
No,
Okay.
no.
That's where.
Yeah, it would be the assistant, the
Yeah.
senior clerk, and then the town clerk.
Quick question myself.
Yeah.
Just for clarification, is it my understanding you said that this appointment of an assistant town clerk is provided by the town clerk, or does this have to go to vote at town meeting?
No, the salary has to go through the typical budget
But the
function.
appointment of the title,
The fact that only a town clerk can appoint a sworn assistant town clerk. It
Okay.
is statutory authority to the town clerk.
okay, I didn't know because we never had one before. I didn't know
Right.
if that was something that needed to be voted on.
No, it's very dangerous not to have one.
Right.
It's not, for instance, the town clerk position is notated in the town charter. This would not be in there.
I got you. Okay, thank you.
But it is in Massachusetts general laws.
Yes, yes it is.
Have we ever had this?
Not that I know of.
Why now?
Well, primarily because
I mean, I know why now, but why have we taken so long to get that?
Yeah, I will tell you that there has been, for many years, I'm trying to be very tactful here, individuals that didn't feel that assistants were needed in departments. So I pretty much have always been around and been available, so it hasn't been an issue. But this came up this time, and I said, Jamie's right, I have to do this. So,
That makes sense.
and I think I also have a perfect candidate for training, and someone that I think will really take the reins with it. Not someone that's just gonna stay here, get their feet wet, and then move on to another community.
No, that's fair.
I have a question.
I was just curious why it took so long, that's all.
Yeah,
So you said you're gonna take no COLA for the last 3 years?
no, for the next 3 years, my last term, I will not be.
And for whatever reason, your COLA was taken out in the 11th hour last year, right?
Yeah.
Which,
Yeah.
I remember that happening, which I don't agree with.
Thank you.
So, you're a full-time employee?
Yeah.
And do you have a pension?
I do.
Ask that. So you're in Bristol County?
Yeah.
So that'll affect.
I don't agree with that.
Pension going forward,
Honestly, because you're taking a 4-year, no raise in 4 years. And with this inflation and going into retirement, I don't think that that's fair to you for as long as you've worked here. I think you've been very faithful to this town, and you could have left probably at any point and taken a $50,000 raise.
Thank you, I appreciate
Because
that.
I know what like clerks make in the town that I work in,
Mhm.
20 miles away. So I just want to say on the record that I don't agree with that. I don't think that you should be doing that.
Actually, if memory serves me correctly,
I
you put
I
an
agree with
increase
that.
last year because you haven't been.
Yeah, so what had happened was, the year before, I had put in an increase, because I had not gotten an increase, I hadn't put in for one for 6 years.
Right.
So I did put one in.
Last
And
year. So basically.
Not,
you
no, not
haven't-
last year, the year before.
You've got a 3.
So last year, I said, I'm going to make sure that I keep this so that it's still an attractive, knowing that I'm going to be getting out, we want to make it attractive for whoever's going to come in.
Right.
And, yeah,
So you've taken
I
3%
found out
over
watching
10
it on
years.
TV.
Yeah, so you,
Yep, what was that?
So you're gonna get 3% over 10 years, give or take. If you went 6 years with nothing, you got a
Yeah.
3, and then you're gonna go 4 more years with nothing.
Yeah.
That's
yeah,
ridiculous.
no, yeah.
I don't know how the pension works, is it?
It's the highest
Because if
every 3
it's-
years.
It's a
Yeah, if it's
percentage.
3
It's a
years, I
percentage.
mean,
Your highest.
It's all
it is
highest.
kinda,
It's your highest 3 years.
that is unfair to you. I mean,
No,
if
that's
it's
unfair.
taking your last 3 years, your highest 3 years, I mean, there's no sense of putting yourself in that position.
Well, I do appreciate that. I really do.
I think it's admirable, Pam, but I think you deserve it.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, thank you. I think after what happened last year, that really spoke volumes about what others thought. So, and I've never been here for the money. I've done it because I love my town. I love, we had a small issue yesterday, interdepartmental, and I received 3 such glowing compliments that I said to myself, that's why I do this.
It's well deserved. I mean, you do work very hard for the town.
Thank you.
As you can see, we all recognize that. So.
Oh, yeah.
I appreciate that. Thank you. So I would rather see whatever I would get be able to go to him. So that way he can build up his future.
It's pretty admirable when you're doing that to better somebody else and not take it for yourself. That's.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Thank you for that, Pam. I want to go touch on the inability to, provide a death certificate to somebody.
Yes.
Can you explain how, the impacts of that?
Oh.
Say you're not able to do that.
Yeah.
Because I know what the potential impacts are, but just so everybody can hear it, how many different things that can affect when a family can't get a death certificate in
Right.
time.
And we've actually run into this because we've lost our burial agent, who was our Board of Health agent. And we had 2 deaths that occurred in Acushnet. One was March 4th, the other one was March 6th. I'm unable to issue that death certificate because the Board of Health agent has to sign off. So it kind of has a ripple effect. If he was able to sign off, but I wasn't here to sign off on it, no one would be able to get that. So it does affect the transportation permits, which means that a person technically cannot be buried until they have that death certificate. Sometimes people are taking a body out of state. We're very fortunate with these 2, that's not the case. But that's an issue. And the worst part about it all is these families have gone through such a traumatic period. And to now be hung up because I hate to say it, but we don't have our act together and we don't have a backup, that only makes us look bad, and very insensitive to the people.
Not being able to present a death certificate sometimes, like financial institutions will
Yes,
require,
Yeah.
right? So
Before
without the
funds are
death
released.
certificate, that means they won't have access to funds to pay for funerals, things of that nature too.
Right, exactly.
Potentially unpaid medical expenses.
Yeah, you can't access the funds, you can't petition the court to be
But
appointed
beyond
executor.
that, in that office, there is no official document requiring a seal that can be issued
Right.
unless the town clerk or the assistant town clerk does it. So everything that requires an official document stops.
So every birth certificate, every marriage certificate, every death certificate, all needs that seal, the town seal. And a lot of people don't realize the significance of that, the importance of it. And just a few years ago, I don't know if you were here, we had the coffee place that started out over on South Main
Rescue
Street.
Cafe, yeah.
Yes, and went to the mobile station.
Oh, no, Acushnet.
No, yeah. it was
Oh, not the
yeah.
rescue, yeah, it was
I
the
was
other
thinking
one.
the rescue.
Yes, and someone brought to my attention that they were using our town seal in their logo. And I was battling with them because that's illegal to be done. The only one that has the ability to authorize the use of the seal is the town clerk or the assistant town clerk.
And you have to also realize that anything that goes international, like you said, with financial institutions or with an estate internationally, has to have an official seal, and it's the actual seal.
Mhm.
You have to have a document that has a seal on it. You can't put a death certificate that you're sending international through a copier.
Mhm. Needs to
Yeah.
be
It has to have the seal. And that only can be done by a town clerk or an assistant town clerk.
Yes, our office will only issue certified copies. We would never issue just a photocopy.
It's amazing, we've gone all these years and not a hiccup, and then this happens to be the year.
Yeah.
I think that's bizarre, but yeah.
You're very
Crazy.
lucky.
Yeah.
And I think it's not just luck, it's a testament to Pam's
Yeah,
conscientiousness too, because it sounds like, I'm learning, you're the only one that can do these very important tasks. So it's important that there is a backup, certainly, that we proceed with this, but it also should be recognized how many years that, the town has been able to operate with just one person, and that's because you're a very conscientious person. Other people could say, I'm in Florida, too bad for you, it'll have to wait.
Yeah.
And so I think the town's been very lucky.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Okay, now you've all inflated my head much too much. Let's move on.
Decided to stay 2 terms.
But thank you.
Oh, it worked, our plan worked there.
On the next 2 budgets, rather than look at FY '26, if you could look at FY '25 in comparison to '27.
Yes,
The Board of Registrars.
yes.
Board of Registrars.
Because of the number of, I had 3 elections in that calendar year, so
okay.
that's comparable. Last year, I did not. And although we did have the Old Colony vote, that funding is being paid for through Old Colony.
Yeah.
So we're not paying, that, you won't see those numbers in here.
What about they're coming back again?
They come back with a second, because that's what
Dan,
everybody at
are
home's
we
thinking
ever
right
gonna come for
now.
that one?
They come back for a second, we're
They are
also not
paying for
footing
the
the bill
second
for
now?
that, correct?
They will.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, So you will see that I did increase the salaries up to 13,000. And that was actually the FY 2025, again, to make it comparable. The voting program in movers, I did have to increase that. Now that we have the new equipment, the coding is a little bit more expensive and the ballot cost. Typically for the annual town election, I don't have to order 3,000 ballots. This year, already I have applications in our system for over 700 that have to be sent out for election day. Not to mention probably another 500 that have to get letters because the applications were not filled out properly. So we have to mail them back out to them. So we're looking at potentially, you know, over 1,000, 1,200 ballots that are going to need to be mailed to these voters as they've requested it.
Pam, what happens if that changes federally
If,
with the whole mail-in ballot thing?
well, it won't go into effect for this year,
Okay.
but if it does, that'll definitely affect my budgets in the
Going
future.
forward.
Yes, exactly. Let's see. There was something else that I wanted to mention. Okay, it'll come back to me. All these compliments just have my head all in a tizzy. Okay, the annual census, that is the actual compilation of everything after we've gotten all the results back. It goes into our resident book. That is mandated. So what we have done is we've worked with an outside vendor to do everything and put it in a PDF, and then we make the copies in our office. It saves us a ton of money doing it that way. Office supplies, I did level fund that. Postage, I did increase to 12,000, and that's primarily for those ballots. Every ballot that I send out is automatically $1, or 94 cents, or it's pretty close to $1. So that postage covers our annual census, which we sent out it was 5,800 census. And now we still also have to do the second mailing for all of the non-responders in the next month or so. So that I needed to increase. And travel is level funded.
Sorry, one question.
Yeah.
Pam, you had said, so we're looking at fiscal year '25.
Yes.
To date, it says, but obviously that year is ended, because that's the one that's most aligned to how many elections we have this year.
Yes, yeah.
Salaries that year was 9,800, but we've got 15,000. I think you said 13, but it's 15 on our schedule. So I just wanna, I'm sorry.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. No, I did change it to 13, but I forgot to change it on the spreadsheet.
So it is 13?
It is 13, yes.
Okay, so that's gonna be 13. But
Yes.
if we were able to do 2025 with 10,000 for salary,
Yep.
and we need to go up to 13 if we have the same number of elections, I'm just trying to understand the
Oh, no,
$3,000 difference.
I completely understand. You're talking about for the registrar's salary?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So with the registrar salary, it encompasses so much more than just the vote by mail or
Yep.
in person, okay? So even though it's at the 13,000, we will get some funding back from the state,
Gotcha.
okay? That will go back into.
And so that's why 25 was at
Yes.
just shy of 10, because the difference was made up by what we got back from the state.
Correct.
Understood. Thank you
Yes.
so much.
Yep.
Yep,
That
I
makes
got it now.
sense.
Okay. Any other questions on that one? No? Okay, so I really got detailed with the last one. This is a breakdown of what our actual costs are for each election. So the number of inspectors that we will have for in-person early voting. We'll have a clerk, a warden, and a registrar. So we are required for the September election to hold 6 days of in-person voting. We have to do at least a Saturday or a Sunday, which I opt to do a Saturday from 10 to 4. That seems to be when people are going to church, and we get a lot of activity then. So it's based on a total of 51 hours, which are the hours that the office is open. Also keeping in mind that although the other offices close at 4 on Tuesdays and every other day, my office does stay open late on Tuesdays, where I'm there until 7. So I have to include that into our hours. So the 51 hours includes the 6 days plus the time beforehand for the clerk to get set up, the staff to get set up, and to break everything down and get everything locked up and secured. Okay. For the state election, it equates to 102 hours. So that is 2 weeks. And there were no increases in salaries. These are the same salaries that they've had for the last, I think this is our third year since we brought some of them up to minimum wage. So for the state, for the early voting, the anticipated amount is going to be $14,698.71. Excuse me. Now you will notice that the registrar is notated in there. Now, we're mandated to have a crew of people, and how I use that crew is really dependent upon me. So a lot of times what will happen is I may have those 6 people working, but I may have pulled 3 of them aside to count ballots or to alphabetize absentee voting applications. So they're not just sitting there that whole time. I try to make them useful so we can get the best bang for our buck. And they enjoy getting up and doing other things and not just sitting at the table. Because unfortunately, it does tend to be very slow, especially the September election. So those numbers seem high, but those are also used for stuffing ballot envelopes, opening the mail, logging them as they come in, doing the data entry. They're all helping with that too. The state primary, I estimate that's going to be about just under $6,000. And that would be the same for the November election. Now you'll notice that for the hours, you may say, 16 hours, 14 hours. All the staff starts an hour before to set everything up, to be prepared when we open the polls. The polls may close at 8 o'clock, but we still have to do our balancing. And sometimes we can get done at 10, sometimes we don't get done till 2. So I kind of went in the middle and said, all right, 11. So hopefully it won't go late, but. So the town election, now this is where I do have to talk with the Board of Selectmen because I can confirm that we have no contested races in the upcoming election. So really having the staff sit there all day for the same people that are on the ballot that are going to win is not necessarily the best use of the town's funds. So going back a few years ago, we ran into this same situation, and the board did vote to change the voting from 10 to 2. So what I did was I did a comparison of what we would save if we did 10 to 8. Normally it would be 8 to 6. If we did 10 to 6, we would save $820, which really in the grand scheme of things is not much. To change it from 10 to 2, we would save roughly $2,500, which is a little bit more sizable. But that's going to be up to the Board of Selectmen. So I'm putting in the full request right now, which is the $32,850.71. And if they ought to go down, we can readjust the budget.
There's no requirements for the state to have specific hours?
Great question. There is. It's 4 hours is the minimum. Yeah.
Go ahead, Jeannie.
You presently run an election in one site, correct?
Yes.
And as such, if that site was not available and you had to run an election in multiple sites or find another site, that would increase the cost, correct?
Absolutely.
It could increase it substantially.
Absolutely. And the one thing that I did not mention is that number that I'm throwing out is only the cost for my line items. The police department, their cost, they absorb, and then what they do is they'll send me an invoice later on, and it comes out of the funds that I get from the state.
For the officer to be there?
Right, exactly. So that also is a big, that's the big ticket item.
If you had multiple sites?
If I have multiple sites and multiple police officers. Yeah. Because now I would have to have 4 locations. Before I had 3. And then when they went and did the restructuring, they changed it so I have precinct 2A, which it's a small precinct, but it still has to be set up as its own precinct and still is required to be staffed the same as every other precinct. So, and now I would without a doubt need at least 4 police officers, where now I can sometimes get away with 2 if we need to.
And that would be for each election?
For every election.
How come you can't have one?
Well, we've received an email today from Ms. Bailey stating that her and the school committee have concerns about having the elections at the school, and it's become too much of a disruption. I'm not exactly sure why. We have not had the meeting yet. I don't know what she's referring to. I do know there was one year that I admittedly made a goof, that it was an election that was planned on a day that the children were in school. And I sent out a very lengthy apology letter to the newspapers and to the parents, and yes. But that was already several years ago. So I'm not exactly sure.
The kids are never in.
No.
Right, in a lot of school districts, that's where
Yeah.
the elections are, and it's a planned PD day for
Right.
the most part.
Mhm.
And I know in that case, there was many steps taken to secure the buildings
Yeah.
and to keep the public out of the instructional areas so that there was no threat to the students.
Right. I
And
think
there
you were
was-
still,
I
yes,
was.
yes.
There was an
Yep.
increased police presence.
Yep.
And there was an even more of an effort to secure those areas of the
Yeah.
building so that the public could not, there was plans on how to access the restrooms, which are
Right.
outside of the perimeter, so to speak. So
Exactly.
it was a very safe and secure operation. And I think at the time, the thought was, there's no safer place for the children to have been on that day because of all of the security and the
Yeah.
cooperation of the emergency personnel in the town.
Right,
So I don't think that was an issue
right,
at that point in time. Going forward, I don't know what the concerns are, but
yeah. I do think that it might have something to do with the November 18th election, because that was decided after they had already done their
the
school calendar.
I was going to say it's probably a school calendar issue.
Do you think it might have to do with the fact that they just reissued the school calendar today because of all the snow days?
No, because that would be for next year, so.
Yeah.
But there's
Right.
an April, isn't there? An April
We do
election?
have an
Oh, is
April
there?
election, but
But
they,
that's not it.
yeah, they were well aware of that
Well,
last
this
year.
is going, it doesn't, it's not this election
It's
cycle.
going
Yeah.
forward all elections.
Oh, okay.
Well, let me ask this question, is there a requirement of amount of space that you have to have? Is there, the only reason why I'm asking is,
Yeah,
years ago, when I was on the floor of the fire department, we would have elections, all the fire stations would have the elections there, we would pull the equipment out, and for that day, people would come in and vote. I mean, is that an option?
we have actually held it there. And one of the issues that we had is that it was too cold for the staff.
And if you hold it in multiple sites, as
Well, I'm saying,
Pete
just
said,
keep it centralized at the station.
There's no cost.
Well, yeah, there's not enough parking.
That's big enough.
Yeah.
or room.
So we've tried the Council on Aging, we used to have 2 precincts there. We had more accidents over there, and especially after the poor man was killed on the bicycle. So that, it's really tough. The library, we did a presidential one, I think it was 2016, the library was brand new. It just could not, that community room could not handle the number of people. And it unfortunately forced it to not be ADA compliant, which was a whole nother issue.
And I know, going back in a long time ago, the election was at the school, because I remember going there with my parents as a
Yeah.
kid to vote. And then it changed to various locations throughout the town.
Right.
And when it changed back to the school, I think the driver of that, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm not remembering correctly, was it going to be a cost savings. I think it was an attempt
Yep.
to save, and I think that there was, if I remember correctly, some access issues at the other areas too for
Yes.
for the public.
Yeah.
So that's why the school made the most sense
Right.
at the time.
Right. And one of the other issues that really needs to be considered is the fact that not everyone is knocking down the door to work as an election worker. Everybody has their own lives. Even those that are retired, they've tried it out. Yeah, okay, I see my friends. It's time to move on. I have a great staff that is. Some of them have been with me since the very beginning, and they refuse to leave me until I leave. So I want to make sure that we have replacements. But what happens is, if I have 4 different locations, I have to have 4 wardens, 4 clerks. So if I have a warden call out sick, I'm already in trouble because I don't have a backup to fill that. It's the staffing. I mean, right now, if we have somebody that calls out sick, I'll say, okay, you can work here half the day, you can work there, in the other precinct a half a day, or you go and cover lunches there. It's so much more convenient. So I'm not exactly sure, but I am interested in finding out more when I attend the meeting. So I'm sure that'll be coming. And honestly, if we are made to move, I've pretty much scouted, I've used all of the other buildings. I really don't know how we would make it work. But if there is a way to make it work, I would have to definitely come back to you for funding, because everyone needs to be notified, which means more postage that, and
There'll
it
be a
doesn't.
lot of confusion.
Yes, exactly.
The only last thing I would want to add is if you are going to consider reducing the hours for cost savings because there's no contestant elections, I would just be concerned that maybe people might be interpreted that there could be people that say, well, I was going to write in so-and-so, I was going to write in a candidate, and I couldn't get there, and the poll was closed. So I don't know if you're going to make more headaches by reducing the hours for $2,000.
Well, we did do it the last time around, and if anything, I'm more about consistency, and that was one of the reasons why I moved the elections to Tuesdays, because everybody would show up on Tuesday and say, hey, I'm here to vote, and no, sorry, that was yesterday, because all of the state.
Habits.
Right. So I absolutely agree with you. But also taking a look at the cost savings to the town, and I know how difficult balancing the budgets are if we can give back $6,000. And I will say, if there is to be write-in candidates, they are instructed to contact me. So that way I can put my staff on alert so they know that they're looking for those names in the ballots.
Okay.
But that was a great question, thank you.
Pam, thank you very much for coming in.
Thank
you.
Presentation.
Thank you.
Bittersweet that it's your last go-around.
Yes, it is, but I'll
Well,
still
you'll
be
be here
back for.
2 more times, 3 more times, right?
Exactly.
Well, yeah, not for us, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So we've got 3 years to
Yeah.
convince.
Yeah.
Okay.
Have a good night.
Thank you
Pam.
very much, I
Thank you, Pam.
appreciate it. Have a good night, thank you, Jamie.
We can change minds in 3 years.
My husband won't let me.
Send us his name. We'll see if we can take care of it.
All right, next up to the plate is our Fire Chief, EMS Director, Tom Farland. Tom, the floor is yours.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
You got 10 minutes. I'm only.
He'd like to be out of here in 10
Sorry,
minutes.
Tom. I thought we agreed on 8.
I wanted to be out of here an hour and a half ago.
Well, if an alarm goes off,
Everybody stay. I'm doing this one way or the other. So just want to start off by saying I am the bad boy, I don't listen, so what you have in front of you does not come out to 0. There's reasons for that. So there's 2 versions of the budget that you have presented. One of them says it's level funded, but it's actually a $70,000 increase. The sole reason for that is we have one of my personnel that has been out IOD for the last 2.5 years, and we're waiting for her retirement to be processed through all the channels. So I'm carrying that, knowing that it shouldn't be paid for the full year. But
IoT, sorry.
injured on duty.
Okay.
So she was injured in the line of duty where
it's
she got
disability
treated.
retirement.
Yeah, she got treated, but now it didn't work. So now we're going through the process.
And the process is multi-level, and a number of them are in this, under the auspices of the state. It goes beyond the county retirement. We go through state bodies, and that's where we're at right now.
So everything is level except for that, and that is under the career salaries. There's a few ways we could approach it. I haven't met formally with the finance staff or the Board of Selectmen to figure out how we want to approach it, because we could take that salary out and just go for a transfer at some point when we know that the cutoff date is, so we know what the balance we would need is, instead of front loading it and having excess. So there's multiple options.
Tom, if you've been carrying it for 2.5 years, wouldn't it already be budgeted? Why would it need to be additional?
So about a year ago, or I got approval a year ago to start in July to hire a temporary staff person to fill her shift instead of paying overtime.
Okay.
So now I'm carrying 2 people for that one position. So that's why there's a $70,000 increase, because I'm paying 2 people to be in that spot.
Thank you.
Well, Parac hasn't gotten through all the stuff yet. But it's not,
It's a lovely process.
it's not contested by the town or the individual. Everybody's pushing it forward.
We shouldn't, yeah. Well,
Yeah, you'd think. I don't know if you want to look at my wish list, but we don't have to. As I said, I haven't even sat down with any of the members of the board or admin staff to figure out what's what. So that's totally up to your call.
Let's hear it.
All right. So, starting off, as you can see, the full-time salary position goes up quite a bit. Again, we're carrying that $70,000 for that person that we're waiting on retirement process to follow, but it also goes up additionally, and that is to continue moving forward with the staffing plan that we started last year. If you remember last year, the way we operate, we have 3 staff work 24/7, 2 of them are career, and 1 of them was part-time. Last fiscal year, or the current one that we're in, we were able to take 2 of those 4 part-time positions and convert them to full-time as an effort to be more stable in our staffing and cost less in overtime. Because when we rely on part-time staff, if they don't put in availability, I have to fill that spot with a full-time person making overtime. It's worked well so far this year, but we still have 2 positions that are filled predominantly with part-time staff. So if we were to convert those positions like we did in the current fiscal year, that would take away the money that's in the part-time salaries, which, as you see, it drops by $76,000. So it's a little bit of a give and take with doing that, and then the cost savings would really come down to overtime. Because even though we fixed half of the problem, summertime, holidays, it's still difficult to get part-time staff to put in availability and cover the shifts that we need them to cover, so we still end up covering it with overtime.
Prior to this effort, we would see overtime budgeted, let's say just for discussion purposes, if you remember, $80,000. And then we were coming in at the end of the year asking for $100,000 to make up the difference. We've tried to show in the budget the actual cost of overtime, and with this shift to make sure we don't get in that jam again where we have at the end of the year that is very, very large.
So
It's almost like truth in budgeting.
So how many conversions are there from part-time to full-time?
We have 2 in our current budget. This would be the last 2.
So the savings in overtime still outweighs the potential increase in health benefits or other
If you
associated
look
costs
at,
with full-time?
in the past year, 185, 190, off the top of my head, thousand, that was the annual cost for overtime. You were budgeting about 80. And so you're looking at an overtime budget here of 130 instead of 190. So that's 60,000 difference right there. And you're looking at having people that are reliable instead of having someone you call in and they say, oh, I just did a double shift at the town I work at usually and I can't come in. This gives you reliability, stability, and it, in effect, hopefully keeps the budget where it should be. as stability in the budget too, as well as the department.
Do you have part-timers that are interested in taking a full-time position, or are you gonna have to search?
We just had a resignation in January. We put out we put out the position. We got one internal and one external candidate for it.
Yeah,
We were able to promote the internal person from part-time, so yeah, there is
an interest?
there is interest on our part-time staff.
Do you
the
have a
two
large
positions that
part-time
we-
staff? How many part-timers do you have?
We have currently 15 part-time EMS employees.
I'm sorry?
15,
15?
yes,
And it's difficult to get the availability?
yes. They all work full-time other places. Some of them have multiple jobs.
What's the shift? Is it 24 hours?
8 to 4, 4 to midnight, midnight to 8. 8-hour blocks.
What's your staffing model right now? Is it still 2 on the bus? and 1 on the engine?
Two staff Station 3, which runs the primary ambulance and the secondary engine, and 1 staffs this station here, which has the primary engine and the secondary ambulance.
Look, if you were to look in your crystal ball and look along the horizon,
Mm-hmm.
do you foresee retirements coming within the department that we're gonna have to face in the future?
In 8 years.
8 years?
Mm-hmm.
That's, nobody will be here.
I was gonna say, that's you.
That's me.
Yeah.
It's
That's
that guy.
pretty specific.
So
Yeah.
unless they flee for somebody else,
You, yeah.
I am the next one to go.
Okay, well, congratulations.
Thanks. There was a small adjustment in the part-time, the assistant accountant line. Jamie's pay is a mishmash of every other thing that she does. So that's my portion of her salary. You'll notice in a perfect world, there's a small adjustment there for a part-time admin assistant. Right now, I do everything. I do all the payroll, I do all the reporting, I do everything. So this would just provide a little office help for myself. As you see, part-time EMS and call would drop down to $42,000. That's a best guess. That would be strictly for call firefighters. We do still rely on call firefighters that don't work on the ambulance, they just call firefighters. Some of them are cross-trained, so we have some staff that way that helps out. But for the most part, these are the call firefighters. They only get paid if they show up to drills or calls. And it's hard to get an accurate kind of picture of how much we spend on the call fire side because it's a combined payroll. So to take out part-time EMS and figure out what the call firefighters earn is a little bit of a kind of throwing a dart at a moving bullseye. 42 is my best guess. It could be a lot lower than that in a slow year. It could be higher than that if we have a busy year like we had last year or shaping up to be this year. And then longevity is a known figure, and that's $2,200. It was $1,700 in the current year. It's going up to $2,200. We have 1 new person that'll be eligible for longevity, bringing that up. With the increase in staff, if that comes to fruition, we would need an increase in clothing allowance. So that goes up from the $7,500 to the $10,000. That's just regular uniforms and dress uniforms for new hires. So that would be all encompassing for that. Energy, we're leaving the same until we get some kind of idea of what's gonna happen. And then all of the other small increases that you see on the expense side, everything there is either we're using more of it, so we need to buy more of it, like medical expenses, or the cost of everything is going up, so we need to account for that so that we don't have to come back in front of you with a reserve fund transfer for those. So that is it in a nutshell.
Where do we stand on contracts?
The union is currently in negotiations.
Who is?
The union is currently in
Okay.
negotiations with the selectmen.
And is that a 3-year looking?
Well, it depends on what negotiations result.
I know the consensus is between both sides, they want a 3-year. We'll see what happens. And I will also preface this with, again, discussions will be happening in the next coming weeks about how we want to approach that individual that we're waiting for retirement on. Do we want to include her full salary for the year or let it ride and come back for a transfer? However that goes, obviously decisions will need to be made with the board as far as the staffing improvements and that kind of stuff. But I am somewhat fortunate where I have a little bit of flexibility, not so much control as the golf, but I do have the EMS reserve account. So if I really need to state my case, I can always increase the amount that gets transferred in that to the general fund to help offset any increases that I really fight for.
And so the finance committee knows next week we are sitting down to put together a plan.
Yes.
As far as the, especially with the new TA coming in, as far as the paying for the ambulance, the bands, how we're going to roll over the bands. My advice is to do it through bands and the reserve account. That way we don't have to go out and spend a lot of money on bonding, and we can put together a schedule that'll work, and at the same time not deplete the reserve account too much.
Where do we stand on the ambulance?
So both ambulances, funding has been secured. It's sitting in my budget in the article funding. One is being moved from the factory to the regional center next week, and the other one is scheduled for delivery at the end of August, beginning of September.
So August, September will be your first?
No, we should get our first one either by the end of March or first week of April. It's moving over to Syracuse next week.
Okay.
And the funding for those is both secure. The only thing that we have left in the ban is the engine that we purchased last year. That balance right now is $650,000, so I'll be working with Jamie on what we do to pay that down and roll it over and see how we can.
Yeah, I guess that's why it concerns me to use the reserve, right? Because we have these capital expenditures, which seems like the more appropriate thing to be spending the reserve balance on and not operations.
I will
That's
tell
what we're
you
trying
that
to
with
avoid.
what the balance that we started fiscal '26 with, what we brought in and what we're scheduled to bring in this year, we're okay. We're more than okay.
So how much is there then?
Well, once we have the meeting and
Figure
we'll
it, no,
present
because
the plan.
I know we put out in the town meeting that we could borrow to purchase the ambulances, but that was always just the last resort. The expectation was
Correct.
there would be
Yeah.
minimal,
So-
if any.
Oh.
Ambulances are funded, that's not coming out of anything.
But
Okay,
it's not bonding per se, it's the short-term notes, the
Bid.
bands. We're sitting down to put together a plan, because I don't want to leave the
Yeah.
new TA walking in and not having an idea of what our idea on how to get through this.
but a band is still borrowing, right? Short-term borrowing as opposed to
Short-term
long-term
borrowing.
borrowing, but it's still borrowing.
Yeah, but
so.
it's borrowing because you had to have that authorization so you
Yeah.
could order it.
1,000%. But the expectation was that
That's
we'd be
why,
okay,
yeah.
because
and
it would,
Oh,
That's-
we're okay.
and that's fine. That's all I care about.
We're going to be presenting the plan
Yes.
to the selectmen.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure things hadn't changed.
It's
from
one
what
of the
we
things
had.
I want to clean up before I leave.
Yeah, okay.
Anybody else have any questions for Chief? Tom, thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Great presentation. You know, in a perfect world, you'd get everything you want and ask for in the, with the request, but we're not in a perfect situation here. So I think, we'll all, keep
still
that
gotta go
in
through EMS.
consideration.
EMA.
Oh, that's
EMA,
right,
sorry.
EMA. Sorry, I'm jumping the gun.
Yeah, I was
Guess
gonna
what?
say,
Nothing's
I was
changed.
like, I still have 2 more things that I haven't written on, so.
Okay.
Guess what? Nothing changes.
Okay, so that makes it easy.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
So
So sorry, continue.
there is a wish list, there is 2 versions of the EMA budget too, but nothing changes.
Okay. Perfect.
We don't, for what we use and what we do, we don't generally spend the full amount out of EMA. Mostly because they're all volunteers and I'm very thankful.
Pray you never have to.
Yeah. So, that is all.
Okay. We all good with our chief?
Yeah, all set. Thank you, chief.
So, I will email Doc the current balance and the projecteds for the EMS account. And he can get
Oh,
over
Doc
to
is you, sorry. I'm
Yeah.
like, huh?
Yes.
Yes, please.
I'm back. I'm back.
You'll forward that to.
Well, you're always gonna be Doc.
Yes,
Took me a second.
and I'll forward it. I'll make sure I forward it to everybody. Not last minute.
Like the
Not
real
when we're
email.
sitting in a meeting, saying, yeah, I sent it to you, I know I sent it to you.
Thanks, chief.
Right, Tom?
Thank you.
All right, I think next we're gonna take up this reserve fund trip, correct? Let's get to that.
Where's Nick?
I was gonna say, did Nick leave?
Nick's up to it. Come on, Nick.
Hello. Won't be long since it's already almost 2 hours.
Yeah, everybody had a chance to look at your email.
Okay.
I-
Yeah, I don't want to.
Then he sent to us at
Last
7:05.
Oh, plenty of time. That's fine.
I was the,
I didn't want to be long-winded anyway.
it's one of those things where you get distracted,
Yeah.
and, Jamie pointed out, she's been there, and you just
Yeah.
forgot to hit send.
Yeah.
That's what happened to me earlier this afternoon.
That's all right. When everyone's trying to fall asleep later, you can read it. You know. That way it's good nighttime reading.
Yeah.
I'll pull it up.
No, it really isn't.
I know it is.
So, I'm here to talk about the water server. Again, I'd rather, if you guys want to just read that at some point, I don't want to be too long-winded. I did get another quote, and just to show the importance of why we should move on this stuff, the price did go up $3,657 from the previous quote, which was only held for 15 days prior. So it's just showing that, we have to move on these things, and it's important to kind of, trust what we're doing. We have a good process in place for all that.
So that increased since our last meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The volatility in the market's that way.
Yeah, the memory and hard drives and stuff, they're going up because of AI servers, data centers.
Yeah. So I will say there's good and bad. Bad is that the price went up. Good is that we still have the savings because after the Board of Selectmen did approve it on the 17th, we only had till the 20th for that quote to be held. So I did preemptively tell her to order, our account manager to order it. So I will take the slap on the wrist because I knew that the restocking fee was going to be less than the actual price increase. So we are still locked in. The 16,000 is plenty of money for the server.
The
So we
original
are good
cost.
with that.
All right,
Yeah.
good.
But I did want to just, reiterate if we had waited and to show the importance of,
Okay.
Expediency.
All right,
Yes.
so Eric, you don't have to pull out your checkbook, okay?
I'm good. I make a motion to go ahead and transfer.
We got a motion.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, motion passes unanimously.
thank you. If you end in 1 minute, he doesn't get the extra money for 2 hours, so.
Motion adjourned.
We have some more here. Jamie, I'll need the, do you have the original? Okay, so I can sign it. Thanks, Nick.
Yep, thank you.
The FY, the budget, the memo I gave you is a memo to the selectmen. It's just an FYI to you folks. I
Okay,
think it's self-evident.
yeah,
We don't have to discuss it. It's an ongoing target.
we'll go through that. All right, old business? Anyone have any old business?
I think it'll be clearer after our meeting tomorrow.
Okay, yeah. Under new business, I want to bring up the fact that we have not penciled in our library to come in before us. There's a request from them to come before our committee so they can give their presentation. So we have to work them in on a date. Now, during our meeting, our FinCom member Pete Benoit is at Old Colony tonight, and they're on a time schedule as well. So Old Colony is going to be voting on their budget on on March 25th. So they would need to actually come in here next week to present their budget. So we need to be able to work Old Colony in to next week's meeting. And we have to send out the invite to them.
Assuming they can get one next week.
Do you want to
We've
reschedule
got like 4 or
everything?
5 people.
We may have to move
Would
it.
you want to bump place back a week
I
then?
think we might have
Do you want to place on
We have
DPW?
police, DPW,
to. Yeah, it's gonna be too much.
CMAS, water, sewer,
That's all the same.
yeah. But
It's either, it was DPW and police, pretty much, right?
Yeah.
So you want to bump them back a week?
I think we're gonna have to. So next week we could do OC and library.
Library, the importance of it is you have to stay within the certification
Right.
limits.
Right, but I wanna give them the courtesy to come in and talk about their presentation and give them the opportunity to do that. So I think next week would be OC in the library on the 18th, so then the 25th.
it's supposed to be the school.
We may have to push the school back the fall, one more week.
But is the school gonna be ready? We should reach out to them and find that
Well,
out
we're gonna
first.
find that out tomorrow.
So you're gonna push the school into April?
It would be,
April 1st.
would it be April 1st? That next Wednesday?
April Fool's Day.
That was O'Colony's original date, was
Yeah,
April 1st.
yeah, so, yeah, Old Colony has to come in next week, so that changes all that.
Yeah, if you have Old Colony next week, then move police, DPW to the week after.
Separate, just one, that'll be one meeting.
Yeah, to the 25th, and then move the school to the 1st.
And, yeah, that gives us plenty of time. I mean, because town meeting.
We're looking, the selectmen haven't scheduled it yet. We gotta put that on the agenda.
Doing your joints?
Is
Yes,
scheduling
we're gonna,
town
that's,
meeting.
the meeting with our school department will be a joint meeting with the
Yeah,
board.
most likely will be in June,
Yeah.
town meeting.
The first Monday in June, more than likely.
First or second.
Yeah, depending on.
Yeah, so if we finish up with the school on April 1st, we've got plenty of time.
Vote after that, yeah.
And we-
Well, that's, at that point, looking at my memo, at that point is time to, that's when the work will be done.
You need 30 days, right, before town meeting?
Or on what is going to be changed.
Well, the other thing, Jamie, because of the transition, with the new TA coming in,
April 1st.
so he's coming, so April 1st, so you're gonna be kind of with him, right, a little bit? Helping out?
Right now, the pending agreement with the Board of Selectmen is for March and April, I will work up to 20 hours a week. Beyond that, through June 30th, it'll be up to 15 hours a week.
Yeah, because I think that's
So
probably
that-
necessary to get him up to speed.
That'll be enough for transition in town meeting and
Yeah.
writing the warrant.
Mhm.
So I guess my question would be, if we bump the school to April 1st, would you and him both be in attendance at that meeting? Would you be able to be there?
Most likely.
Okay.
Oh, I'm not abandoning.
We don't have any idea as far as articles.
The departments will be submitting the articles now, but you have very little free cash left. We spent it.
Yeah, we
in
always
the
do every
fall.
year, but we seem to get 20 articles plus.
No, but we spent it in the fall.
Yeah.
And so, my advice would be that you have to look at your budget and then look at what you need to put into stabilization to keep that sweet spot for borrowing. And then look to see if anything's left. Because the budget's going up. Always does, and your target for the stabilization fund goes up appropriately.
Okay, Kathy, can you send out the invite to OC tomorrow?
Maybe only
Because
300
we're,
or 400
short on time.
And library.
left
And
in
library as
free
well.
cash.
Thank you.
300 something.
Yeah.
So
we got
just
Minute.
really quick, you've got revenue increasing by 967,000
Estimate.
estimate, and then this
Yeah.
plus this of estimated expenditures, so almost 3 million.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a
There's
$2
gonna be
million
work to be
deficit.
done. But if you look at, I've got a really large rumored estimate.
Mm-hmm.
For, well, their budget was presented last night, and that's around, I think that's what it said, their increase they were looking for, it was about a 10% increase, I think. So,
That would be $1 million.
yeah, overall 9.9%,
Yeah.
they said. Let's see, I didn't write down what the difference was, but, yeah, about 1.4.
Well, they haven't even seen the revenue estimate yet. That will be at our meeting tomorrow, so, I mean, you're looking at fixed cost. There are a couple things that haven't been done, like, you're looking at insurance that we're still talking to the reinsurance stop-loss carriers, so that could take health insurance down. We have no idea that was the back of the envelope for the trash increase. I just see what other communities are facing, and you people are at the end of a 5-year contract. So, and we all know that haulers and trash haulers and processors are part of their costs that they pass on to us are petroleum costs. So we know where that's gone.
We got 2 sets of minutes to approve. One from the meeting of February 18th, 2026. In attendance was myself, Phil Adams, Eric Chu, Kristen Flynn, and Mr. St. Jean. Absent was Sue, Pete Benoit, Eric McGlenn, and Lisa. We have a motion to approve.
Motion approved, minutes as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, these minutes are approved. Next set of minutes. Is from October 1st, 2025. In attendance was myself, Phil Adams, Eric Chu, Eric McGlenn, and Mr. St. Jean. Also in attendance was Mr. Kelly. I don't know who was absent.
I was.
I was absent.
It wasn't listed.
Motion to accept?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, those minutes are approved. Next meeting date is next week, March 18th, right here, same time. So we'll be meeting with Old Colony and the library.
Motion to adjourn.
Hold on.
I apologize.
So our schedule's been modified as of today, so Kathy, you got all the modifications that we made?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll have everybody covered. If for some unforeseen reason, we have to wait and have the school come in
Let us know quickly.
after April 1st.
No, but our OC can't come in.
Well, no, I think I think they want to come in next week. I think,
All right.
so that's the impression I got from Pete. Anyway, but if we had to postpone our own school meeting till the 8th, which would be the following Wednesday, I don't think that makes much of a difference anyway.
I will not be there.
You won't?
No.
Okay.
Not with the deadline a week away.
Gee, April
Oh, yes,
15th
that's
is what?
I'm sorry, April 15th, yeah?
All right.
In case anyone's forgotten, it is tax day. Don't forget to file your tax return.
So we want to.
Electronic filing will get you your refund fast.
We'll try and make April 1st work.
Mm-hmm.
All right, but we'll, if anything has to
But I'm
be
not necessary.
amended, we'll amend it if needed. Go ahead, Eric.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.
Good night.